Forget everything you know about school lockdowns. What I'm about to share with you isn't just rumor or some cautionary tale. These are the real stories that happen behind locked door stories so unnerving, you'll never feel safe in a classroom again. You asked for it. Now, I dare you to listen to what really happened during school lockdowns. Story 1. It was a dull Friday afternoon in calculus, 7th period, the last class before spring break. The air felt different that day, heavy with impatience. Our teacher, one of the laid-back ones, decided there'd be no work today. Instead, he pulled up a quiz on Sporkle to pass the time. We laughed, called out answers, quietly counting down the minutes until freedom. Then, without warning, the laughter died. The dean's trembling voice crackled through the loudspeaker, urgent, ragged. This is not a drill. Lockdown. Now, the energy in the room collapsed. The teacher's face drained of color as he turned off the lights and hurriedly motioned us to the back of the room. One by one, whispers fell silent until the only sound was our own uneven breathing. Moments later, the hum of electricity from the ceiling stopped cold. The power was gone. The silence grew thick, unnatural. That's when we heard the screaming. A man's voice, broken and furious, echoing down the hall. Someone whispered a prayer. The voice got closer, shrieking like a wounded animal. Then came the pounding metal lockers rattling under his fists, and the words, "I'll kill all of you." 2 girls began to cry. The teacher pressed a finger to his lips, eyes trembling. Then came another sound, the thud of a hand slamming against our classroom door. "Open up," the stranger screamed. The banging was so violent, the hinges groaned. One girl's cry turned into a sharp scream. It felt like hours before the sound moved down the hall. When it was finally quiet, no one dared move. Eventually, the intercom came alive again with the dean's voice. He said the intruder had attacked the woman at the front desk, that staff couldn't find him, and that we were to keep the doors locked. But even his words sounded hollow, as if he wasn't convinced the danger had passed. Later that night, a janitor found someone sleeping in a storage closet. A man in a torn coat with something heavy and metallic glinting from his pocket. The police never caught him. The closet was empty when they arrived. None of us know what really became of him. But sometimes, in the quiet halls after dark, people still swear they hear knocking. Story 2. The rain-soaked lockdown with psychological twist. When I was in middle school, lockdown didn't arrive with alarms. It slithered in on the back of a rainstorm, silent and suffocating. It was lunchtime. The cafeteria smelled faintly of antiseptic and microwaved pasta, blending with the earthy scent of rain, leaking through every crack. I remember that rain, how it drummed against the glass, insistent, as if something outside desperately wanted in. A moment shattered when 4 booming thuds rolled across the campus, like the footsteps of something ancient. Conversations withered. Every kid froze. Even the teachers looked lost, suddenly shrinking beneath the buzzing lights. For a second, I convinced myself it was just thunder. But when the scream started, something in my stomach twisted a sense of dread, raw and primal, as everyone stampeded toward the multi-purpose room under the barking orders of security. That room, its walls of glass, now hidden behind thick curtains, became a tomb. The rain faded away, and with it, any sense of time. The quiet inside wasn't safe. It was watchful. Eric asked a teacher what had happened. He returned with his face pale as candle wax. "There's a man across the street. He's barricaded. Says he'll kill himself, and anyone who comes close." Whispers echoed, growing more wild with each repetition. He'd been seen earlier, just standing, unmoving, staring at the playground with eyes too empty to be safe. Someone claimed he'd carved shapes into his own skin, watching children through rain-smeared windows. In that shadowed room, some kids cried. Others stared at the glass, certain the curtains would slip, imagining a shadow pressed close. a figure scrawling messages in blood as rain smeared the words away. After we were finally released, I learned more than I wanted. Brandy, shaken, whispered how he lived next door. Last Halloween, she'd seen his window. Written along the fogged-up glass, in something dark and sticky, were words that had haunted her dreams since. "Don't come here, or I'll kill you." Brandy swore that as her group walked past, the words changed just a little. The letters seemed to crawl, twisting into "I see you" before the lights flickered and the words slipped out of view. Now, whenever it rains and the playground empties, she says she feels watched. Sometimes she hears the faint tap-tap of fingers or the echo of that Halloween. Warning, always waiting, just out of sight, where the glass fogs over and your own reflection blurs into something else. Story 3. Shadows in the Basement, with deeper twist. Years later, I returned to that same school. Older, but not necessarily wiser. Now working as a computer intern buried in the basement. It's strange how basements hold secrets, water stains on cold walls, server racks humming like distant thunder, darkness waiting to be remembered. The lockdown call came quietly, a whisper. Stay hidden. Don't make a sound. Suddenly, the basement once familiar seemed insidious, each shadow stretching longer, every corner harboring possibilities best left unseen. I cut the lights and pressed myself under the desk, clutching my phone like a talisman. In the weak glow, my hands trembled as familiar anxiety slithered up my spine. Minutes crawled past, suffocating and long. Then, the basement door moaned open, a sound crawling down the stairs. Footsteps, slow, intentional, not quite right, like the cadence of a nightmare. I remembered, with startling clarity, how vulnerable I was. There was no lock, no safety. My phone dinged. The sound echoed louder than it should. As footsteps moved toward me, unhurried. I pressed myself further in, breath shallow. Then a hand closed around my wrist, rough and cold. He stood over me, red plaid shirt, red and black cap, eyes sunken, hollow as if the lights never quite reached them. "I'm just hiding too," he whispered, but I saw the way his mouth twisted, not quite a smile, more an imitation. He asked about the exit. I answered, but my voice felt alien, like it belonged to someone else. He stared into the shadows, then back at me. My phone buzzed. I read the message. "Some guy with a gunshot, Mr. Buckley, red shirt, red hat. Don't come upstairs." I looked up. He stared back, knowing. Something flickered in those empty eyes. A memory? A hunger? I ran, terror blinding me. The crack of a gunshot, metallic and final, split the air. I didn't look back, not when sparks flashed, not when the darkness roared. Police descended. The man was dragged away, hands twisted, lips moving to a song only he could hear. Mr. Buckley lived, but no one spoke of what really happened. Some nights, long after, I'd drop into uneasy sleep, only to awaken in the basement again in my dreams. I'd sense a presence, the same man waiting in the doorway, red plaid shifting, cap low. He never spoke, but his eyes would catch the dim light, reflecting everything I'd ever feared. And in those dreams, I realized, sometimes in the dark, we meet not strangers, but the oldest things inside ourselves, the ones that wait, patient and cold, long after the lights flicker out.